Hello, everyone. Welcome to my grammar class. Thank you very much for being here. Today, we're going to talk about clauses. Clauses are a very important concept in English, but it is usually ignored or not paid enough attention to. So today, we're going to explore the importance of this concept. Clauses are the DNA of the English sentence. That's how important it is, because it signals whether there is an idea in a bunch of words or not. If you have a clause in there, you have an idea. If you don't have a clause in there, you don't have an idea. That's how important a clause is. Secondly, a clause is the measuring stick of the simplicity or complexity of a sentence. If you have one clause in a bunch of words, then you have a simple sentence. If you have more than one clauses in one sentence, then that sentence could be a compound sentence or a complex sentence. So what is a clause then? A clause is a cluster of two, okay? It is a unity of two. It's a pair of two, a couple of two, of course, and a nuclear of idea. It's a yin-yang for the wholeness. So it is made up of two. Remember that. So in a bunch of words, the two that makes up a clause are the two parts, the two elements that makes up a clause is the answers to two sets of questions. Each set is made up of two questions. For example, the first question is, who or what are we talking about? And your answer to that question, of course, you always end up answering only one of it. So you have one answer. And then the next question you're going to answer is, what does it or he do, right? Or what is it or what is he? So you answer that question, then you have the next part, next element of the clause. So you have the subject and the action or state of being of the subject, then you have a clause. Now, first of all, be very careful. Just having a name and action is not a clause. For example, you give me student study, and then that looks almost like a clause, but it's not a clause. Why? Because it's not processed. The noun is not dealt with. How do you deal with the noun? You have to decide whether it's countable or non-count. When it's countable, whether it is singular or plural. You have to make a decision about it. If it's a noun count, you treat it as singular. And once that decision is made, then you move on to the verb. And there are lots of decisions to make in regard to the verb. All right? First of all, you tell me what tenses it is. There are 12 different tenses, basic tenses, okay? And you have to pick out of the 12 tenses. And then secondly, you have to decide the voice. It is active or passive. And then you talk about the modals, modals. And you talk about how it agrees with the subject, the verb, how it agrees with the subject in terms of person or number. And the subject-verb order could change to signal question and other important meanings. And also the verb, you also sometimes look after the verb, okay, to decide whether the verb is transitive or intransitive, meaning whether it could be followed by a noun directly or followed by a noun with help. Next, you determine whether your verb is a predicate verb or non-predicate verb, meaning whether your predicate verb is followed by other verbs. And those other verbs are called non-predicate verbs. And they are less important, and they show that they are less important by using ing or infinitive, or by using the verb directly after the main verb. Sometimes even past participles are used, okay, just to say that they are less important than the predicate verb. So like we already said, clauses, okay, signal the existence of a sense in a sentence. A sentence must have a clause. A clause is the DNA of a sentence, but it's not a sentence. Okay, so let's look at this. Look at this. You have a bunch of words, but it's not even a clause. It's just the phrases. How do we know? Because the noun and the verb are not processed. If you have a bunch of words without a subject, that's not a sentence. If you have a bunch of words without verb, it's not a sentence. When you have both, it's not processed, that's not a sentence. Okay? And finally, if you process your noun, tell me the number of the noun, and then process your verb, tell me the tense of the verb, then you can call it a clause. A clause becomes a sentence by moving the interior, okay, by insulating the interior with capitalization at the beginning and end punctuation at the back. So that is a sentence now. A sentence is insulated, one clause. And a simple sentence has only one clause. Compound sentences have more than one clauses connected, like with superglue. The superglues are coordinating conjunctions. And if you stuff clauses inside another sentence, inside another clause, then it's called a complex sentence. Of course, the clauses that are stuffed inside another clause is marked out. And these asterisks represent the clause markers, subordinating clause markers. And of course, even complex sentences can be compounded by coordinating conjunctions. So let's come back to what I said. Clause, a clause, clauses. Clauses are the most important concept of the English grammar. It is a nucleus of meaning in an English sentence. It is the measuring stick of simplicity or complexity of the English sentence. And all compound and complex sentences are constructed, converted on the basis of the clause. They are built with this building block. So, like I said, clauses are the most important concept in English sentence. Therefore, imitating Shakespeare, I'll tell you, know thy clauses. That's it. Thank you very much. See you next time.